Hello everybody and welcome at our GCP-Mindset channel. Today I have two guests with me, very interesting guests, Stephen Nenwa and Ativie, and we are speaking about clinical research in Africa. Welcome.
Thank you, Andreas.
Yeah, thank you both for being here, Frank, Stephen. Nice to see you, and thank you for following my invitation to speak about clinical studies in Africa. But let's begin with yourself. I know you have also a YouTube channel, so actually we are more or less colleagues in the YouTube business. But let's speak about yourself, your history, why you are an expert in clinical studies for Africa. Who wants to start?
I give it to Stephen.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Andreas, for welcoming us to this talk about the perspectives and opportunities of clinical trials in Africa. So as you know, I'm originally from Cameroon, where I was born, and I did my primary and high school education in Cameroon before deciding to further my studies abroad. So my interest in the world of clinical research and drug development, I would say, started as early as the age of 10. So while growing up, I saw some circumstances and situations. I saw people who were diagnosed of deadly diseases, diseases for which there was no cure, like cancer. And this was really heartbroken because these situations left the majority of the people who had no knowledge about this kind of sicknesses. It left them frustrated, and they could not explain what was happening. So as time unfolded, I decided to streamline my studies and focused in clinical research and drug development. And it has been, I would say, a very interesting journey until now. And this was one of the main reasons why we decided to start the CS Talk channel, to be able to answer some of the questions that are in the minds of people about clinical research, as well as inform people about the opportunities within the industry. So I would say it is a great opportunity to be on this panel with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So my turn. So I'm a basic researcher, and for several years I did preclinical trials and experiments in institutional and university setup. We came up with a lot of data, a lot of fundamental knowledge. And I was driven by the urge to know what happens to this knowledge that we are generating in the preclinical setup, how this information, this data we are putting together are translated into bedside medicine. And that was one of the major motivations why I moved to the clinical research companies. And of course, you were the first guy giving us this opportunity to be able to learn and understand how this industry works. So we're very grateful for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting. And I like your purpose, actually, very meaningful. You're living now both in Germany. Yeah. So why do you think that it's worth to speak and make the video about clinical studies in Africa?
Well, I can go on that. What most people do ignore is that Africa is the second continent with the most population after Asia, and in this settings, you have the population that is important for the subject acquisition when this is necessary. You have a continent that have people that do not have a lot of access to medical facility, so they are happy if they are able to be part of a trial, which would be a boost for the recruitment. And this is also a continent where the overall living standard is not comparable to what you can find in the Western world. What this implies is that whatever cost that would be accrued by conducting clinical trial, say in the APEC or EMEA region, you just need a fraction of this to conduct a same trial in Africa. And Africa is also, as we all know, an emerging continent, be it economically, politically, and otherwise. So the next frontier is actually Africa. So sponsors should be very quick to have a fit or to stand in Africa, so that when actually everything kicks up, they are not caught off guard, that they are on the ground already.
Okay, thanks.
I would say another interesting point why sponsors or pharmaceutical companies should be interested in conducting trials in Africa is based on the points of globalization. So you see that nowadays our social habits all around the world are similar. You have people consuming technically the same kind of food. You also have smoking. It's now in almost every society, and social media consumption. So we are seeing sicknesses and diseases from this lifestyle being spread across the globe. So looking at the key points that Frank said, I would say it is of great interest for clinical research to be extended in this region.
Yeah, okay, then it's even more important that we share already our experience with Africa with our subscribers.
Yeah, for sure.
Frank, you just said that's a huge continent, and we have a lot of countries there, more than 50 I think, and a lot of different languages, cultures and so on. What would be your recommendation? Which of these 50 countries are more interesting for clinical research?
Well, thank you, Andreas, for that question. That is the question that would lead us to start explaining why Africa is indeed a good place to conduct clinical trials. If I would be forced to choose a few countries where clinical trials would have a good success, I would first go with South Africa. South of Africa being that the infrastructure to conduct clinical trials are already in place. I mean, this is a developing country, but a developing country with very good measures and good achievement in terms of politics, infrastructure, and even research. So you've got a diverse population that would provide the necessary population to choose the subjects for a trial from, and this subject will be from diverse background. As you know, South Africa, about 80% of the population is of African descent, and 20% is European, Asia, or mixed population. So this already gives a diversity that we also very much appreciate in clinical trials.
That's true.
The second one is that the medical facility in South Africa, at least in the bigger cities, and the medical expertise in general is comparable to what is attainable in the Western world, say Europe or the US. This is also the position of the WHO and the German Ministry for Foreign Affairs. So, and the third one being that the patient physician ratio in South Africa is about 1 to 2,500. So that means this is very low. That means a lot of patients are unable to see their physicians. So definitely, if they have the chance to be involved in clinical trials, they'll be very happy to join. Coupled with the fact that you have a lot of drug-naive patients in this region. So that's South Africa. For Nigeria, Nigeria is the most populous black nation on earth with over 200 million people. And of course, with that kind of population, you can be rest assured that you can get your subject, and the standard of living is also not too high, which would also imply that it wouldn't cost the sponsors too much to perform trials in Nigeria as compared to say APAC or EMEA region. And apart from that, the physicians are also probably not as well paid as the physicians in the Western world, so they are motivated not just because of the financial advantages alone, but also for the name. I mean, if they are involved in a trial that is conducted from a Western sponsor, that is like a boost to their image in the field that they might be engaged in. And the third country that I would recommend is Rwanda. Rwanda is a relatively small country in Africa, but I would also recommend Rwanda because the government, as to what I've been able to gather in recent times, the government are really pushing for research and medical innovation. They are supporting startups, they are supporting research, engagement and research, exchanges with the Western world, and they have very good infrastructure also in place, be it a physical infrastructure or governmental infrastructure that would aid a successful conduct of clinical trials. So these are the three countries that I would recommend. This doesn't exclude other countries to be qualified. Ghana is not a small country that if we have time, and we can also talk about this. So there are a lot of countries that would be good candidates, but I would go with these three countries for a start.
So, Andreas, you have heard some of some key important points about Africa. Why is it interesting for pharmaceutical companies to turn their face to Africa when it comes to clinical research? I know you have been in the industry for more than 20 years, and you are also the CEO of a leading global CRO. So what could be some of the reasons that have caused pharmaceutical companies to be reluctant in going into the African market when it comes to clinical research? And how can we motivate these sponsors or these pharmaceutical companies to increase their engagement in the region?
Yeah, thank you. Very nice and interesting question. I think there are several reasons for that. First of all, and I spoke already about it when I made the video about quality risk management, a lot of people working in clinical research don't like risk. And risk always means they do something they don't know. And you experience it with everything, new technologies like ECFs 20 years ago, or now we are speaking about an e-archive or e-informed consent. That's what they don't know, and therefore they don't like to try it. I know even sponsors who have problems to go to EU Eastern countries. Even so, like for example, Bulgaria and Romania are part of the EU. Many sponsors are afraid to go in these countries because they don't know it and they don't trust in it. And they see risk like corruption, for example, language problems, infrastructural problems, educational problems. But as Frank already said, that's not the case anymore. We do also studies in South Africa, and we made very good experience with them. And motivation and commitment is sometimes more important than internet. And so I would motivate especially smaller companies to just try it, and combine also the selection of countries. They can go to 80 or select 80% of the known countries, but 20% maybe they should also go into countries where we have a different situation and more patient and little number of treatments on the market, and therefore a lot of treatment naive patients. Makes completely sense. And then step by step, and I think we need to be patient with the industry, they will learn that studies need to be run globally, or they will not be successful anymore.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope you can also understand where they see the risk and also understand their thoughts a little bit. Of course, they should go the next step, but don't expect something from one day to the next. And honestly, I think in 50 countries there is also a huge variation of stability. And maybe, Frank, do you also can tell us about countries which you would not suggest to go for clinical studies?
Thank you, Andreas. That's a very interesting question. It is interesting because this is one of those challenging questions that will be in the minds of sponsors or people that are willing to engage in clinical trials in Africa but cannot assess the risk and which country is more risky than the other. In general, I would say that any country that is politically stable, any country that you can agree that would respect human rights and follow ethical principles are all eligible for the conduct of clinical trials. So I would not specifically exclude any countries, but I would employ the involved person to look into the political situation of that country and the human rights standards and how ethics processes are being followed.
Okay, that's a good point, and I think it's not only applicable for Africa, it's for the whole globe. It's important, the political stability also for clinical research. I mean, we made bad experience with Ukraine already because of crisis. Turkey is not always stable. It can make problems in clinical research, so I completely agree with that. When we think about medical indications in Africa, everybody probably thinks about HIV, very popular in Africa, but there are probably many more interesting areas where we can do clinical studies in Africa.
Many thanks, Andreas. We are living in a global world today. People around the world are beginning to consume the same kind of content, the same kind of meal. Lifestyle is becoming synchronized around the world. And we know that diseases and indications around the world is a combination of the genetics, lifestyle, and generally the way people live. And of course, if lifestyle is becoming synchronized, if I may use that term, around the world, we should expect that the indications are becoming similar as well. But in Africa, one of the top indications would be in the infectious disease area, like with AIDS. We know that Africa comprises of 17% of the total world population, but 60% of the total world population affected with HIV are found in Africa. So this makes it even more important for sponsors to search out for these subjects in Africa. Another one is the cardiovascular disease, of course, because of consumption of fast food and other kind of dietary that is becoming global. You have increasing number of cardiovascular disease in Africa, and this also would go for metabolic disease like diabetes mellitus, and of course oncology indication diseases are also increasing in Africa, like the cervical cancer, which is becoming very rampant in African women, and so these are the indications that I think the sponsor might focus on and get good recruitment for patients for their trials.
Yeah, very interesting, because I think most people think still people in Africa don't have anything to eat, but it's the same like here: too much sugar, too much fat, physical activity decrease, and then they also get problems with obesity, overweight, diabetes. You said that already. So I think it's very underestimated, the prevalence of these diseases in Africa.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Great, thank you very much, guys. It was really interesting to speak with you about clinical studies in Africa, and we will do additional videos about particular countries. I think the next video we agreed on is clinical studies in South Africa.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to produce this video with you, and I hope that you also liked the video. Please leave your comments, send us your questions, subscribe to our channel, and please also to the channel of these both guys, CS Talk. See you the next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.